What's up, y'all? Hey, this is Editing Bay Ryan. I am just jumping in, let you know this is part 2 of our review of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So if you jump in and you realize you're right in the middle of the season, just go ahead and jump into episode 1 first.
Thanks for visiting the TVA.
We open up with a real upbeat commercial for the Global Repatriation Council. Reset, restore, rebuild. Kind of Marvel is really flexing on these commercials, right? So we get John Walker and the GRC forces in Munich trying to track down Carly as the men's inside to speak German. Lamar is brought in to translate. The German who'd been harboring Carly says he knows nothing and then spits in Walker's face. And you just you see the look on Walker's face, and you could tell like there's there's an anger deep down.
Oh yeah,
right.
You know who I am.
Yeah. The two are out of leads, but Walker decides to quote bet on someone who has a better hand. So in Berlin now, Bucky decides to visit Helmut Zemo in his cell alone. Zemo starts to recite the Russian words: logging, rusted, 17, and Bucky's like, those days are over. And Nemo's like, I know. I just wanted to see how you react to the old words. And Bucky reveals the existence of multiple super soldiers running rogue throughout the world. So hoping to enlist Zemo, who hated super soldiers, hates this term, right? So Barnes reveals, he reveals this to Zemo. Barnes is talking to Sam, and he walks him through a hypothetical. Let me walk you through, and trying to get Barnes. Now he's got to get Helmut on board, and he's got to get Sam on board. And he talks him through this hypothetical, which is not a hypothetical because it's already in plan. So he basically he breaks out of prison by initiating an inmate brawl as a distraction. And, when Zemo arrives, Sam is reluctant to accept his ally, but agrees that they would do so under constant supervision. I really do love the prison fight scene. I love how they pulled it off. The little note says he's going to kill you tonight. And then it kind of escalates from there. So fun scenes. Well, if you like prison fights, maybe that's not fun is not the way to describe it. Sorry. I take that back. It was entertaining, I will say. So Zemo tells him that he spent 5 years hunting down Hydra affiliates who worked on the serums. They arrive at a private airfield and meet Oznik, who's played by Nicholas Pryor, before they board Zemo's jet and talk about Bucky's book, which actually turned out to be Steve's book, which is a fact I completely forgot.
Yeah, I forgot about that too.
Yeah, they have a discussion about Marvin Gaye. He was like, it's a masterpiece, James, complete, comprehensive. It captures the African-American experience. And Sam's just
not wrong, but out of pocket.
He's completely out of pocket. Love that. But again, this fun little, that seems like a very kind of real thing. You know what I mean? To make that kind of comment, if you will. So they head to Madripoor.
Real quick before we move on, this is one of the Zemo things, right? Because this is also where we see his garage, and we see all of his cars and his mask, right? His classic mask. But one of the things that I found interesting watching this is the opposite ends of the Sokovian experience that we have seen in these two TV shows, right? We see the oligarch, very rich, high class Zemo experience, and on the complete other end of the spectrum is what the twins were experiencing, right? What the Maximoff family experienced, where they were in poverty, they were getting VHSs to practice American language and those sort of things. And so it was really interesting to kind of just in two shows and for our show, right, 2 episodes here back to back, watching these shows and seeing that juxtaposition of the two experiences within Sokovia was really interesting.
How much did you pay for a deleted scene where they just spend an hour looking at all the cars?
It'd be pretty great. It'd be pretty fun.
So they hop on the jet. They're headed to Madripoor, which is a criminal sanctuary located in the Indonesian archipelago. There, they will assume the identities of local criminals for disguise. Madripoor, I would point out, is usually associated with X-Men comics. First appeared in New Mutants number 32 in 1985. So We get a quick cut scene of Carly she's at the resettlement camp in Riga, Latvia, who's comforting her and mourning her dying adoptive mother before we cut back to Madripoor. The pandemic impacted a lot of filming, obviously, in Europe. That character was supposed to have a much larger role, the Donya, but she was pretty much written out. So,
well, and if you watch this scene, you can tell it's all ADR. Nobody is speaking with this scene. Like, it's all voiceover and all just kind of B-roll kind of stuff. You don't see anybody's face while they're speaking. And so very clearly this is like, oh, maybe that virus thing is a bad idea. Let's get away from that. And so very clearly this is one of those spots where on rewatch you're like, oh yeah, they changed something here.
Yeah, just hold your breath. Don't say anything. Hold your breath, and then wash your hands like a fiend afterwards. Anyway, so they're in Madripoor. The trio are on foot, but Sam is not feeling his costume. Sam is he basically is in this like very colorful, ornate purple. He's like, we have to fix this. I'm the only one who looks like a pimp. Zemo says only an American would assume a fashion-forward black man looks like, I don't know what the accent was, looks like a pimp. You look exactly like the man you're supposed to be playing, the sophisticated, charming African rake named Conrad Mack, a.k.a. the Smiling Tiger. Sam's like, he even has a bad nickname. Hell, he does look like me, though. Smiling Tiger first appeared in New Warriors number 19 in January 1992 and helped run the criminal underworld of Madripoor. So they get picked up in a, wait for it, Audi. They are escorted to Lowtown to visit Selby. Lowtown looks like Tokyo with like the iconic neon lights, but like with open criminal activity. And the question I have for you is like, how much do you want to visit Lowtown?
Oh, dude, the aesthetic is so cool. Like it reminded me a lot of like Blade Runner as well, like very Blade Runner feeling, where it's just like cool, rainy neon, like kind of grimy. I love that aesthetic. It's so cool.
Yeah. Set of Fast and Furious in Lowtown. Watch Ryan's head explode. I would point out they walk past a couple iconic bars we see in the comics. The Princess Bar, which first appeared in Marvel Comics #1, September 1988, which Wolverine, when he was under the name Patch, operated under. And then they pass the bar they enter is the Brass Monkey Saloon, which made its appearance in Captain America number 363 in 1989. So they go into the bar. Nemo uses the Russian trigger phase. And they pretend to activate.
You were going to say it at some point. You said Nemo.
I knew it.
It was going to happen.
Finding Zemo. I knew it was going to happen sometime. It's fine. Whatever. Laugh along, everyone. Anyway, so this causes a huge bar fight ruckus and just a great fight scene. And you get like the old Winter Soldier, and you wonder just how much he's like secretly enjoying it, right?
Yeah.
So they finally earn a meeting with Selby. Zemo offers Barnes in exchange, and in this weird kind of creepy way of like, you can use them however you want to, which I thought on rewatch, I was like, okay. A little bit. But I think it wasn't, I believe that was intentional. So in exchange for information about the super soldier serum, Selby says the serum is in Madripoor and that a Dr. Wilfred Nagel created it, and tells him that he was hired by the power broker. First mention, I think this is the first mention in this episode.
Yeah.
So before Selby offers Nagel's location for a fee, Sam receives a call from Sarah. Why you don't turn off your phone is wild. And he has to like basically put it on speakerphone, and then his cover's blown. And so Selby orders the trio to be killed, but just then is shot by an unseen assassin. Wilson, Barnes, and Zemo basically fight their way out and flee the premises. And then at that moment, everyone in Madripoor is immediately alerted to Selby's death. Think like the John Wick when the text goes out you're just like, oh, there's a bounty, I'm on it. And so they're being chased, very kind of John Wick feeling. And then before just as they're about to be killed, Sharon Carter shows up, shoots a bunch of the bounty hunters, and we discover that because she stole Steve's shield in Captain America: Civil War, that she has been on the hunt. And it reminded me, I looked up the scene again when they're when the two of them are in the car, Bucky and Sam are in the car, and she gives him the shield, and she gives him the bird costume, right? And says that people come for her, to which he says, I know. He kisses her and says, that was late. And then he looks, and Sam and Bucky are just smiling. It has nothing to do with this. I just wanted to I just love
so
that scene
good.
so much. It's
such
great.
a good scene.
It's great. So they plan to go to Hightown to stay at her apartment. Hightown looks much nicer than Lowtown. I'm not going to lie. Right. And Sharon accepts Sam's offer to obtain a pardon in exchange for help in tracking Nagel's location. There's, she gives them, thankfully, a change of clothes, invites them to the party, which is this big kind of dance rave.
And we get the dancing Zemo, the sweet little dance motion he's got. For the listeners, I did it.
And it's that's why we got to put this on YouTube, man. I've got to get some video going. We could have like cat arm, we could have Zemo dance. But it is very hilarious. It's very awkward, and somebody thankfully put together an hour repeat on a loop. So
good, so good. I will mention, Wilfred Nagel actually is from the comics. He is the scientist that works for Project Rebirth, which is the group that created Captain America. And he is tasked with recreating the super soldier serum for the U.S. Army, and is part of who gives it to Isaiah Bradley. One of the funny things about Wilfred Nagel is his alias is Dr. Yosef with an F Reistein, which is only different from Dr. Erskine's alias, because Erskine used Dr. Yosef with a PH. So
what a suck up.
Yeah, right.
So we Sharon next morning, they sleep off their hangover, probably get a breakfast burrito, and head to a shipyard where Nagel's laboratory is hidden inside the a series of shipping containers. And so Carter's outside. She's going to defend the lab against the remaining bounty hunters, and Nagel is interrogated at gunpoint about the serum. He reveals that he was recruited into Hydra's Winter Soldier program after the 5 failed test subjects in Siberia that we saw in Civil War, and that Nagel was then brought in to see once Hydra collapsed. So using the blood samples from an American super soldier, i.e. Isaiah Bradley, Nagel isolated the stable particles that comprise the serum. And so, he started this, disappeared during the blip, came back, power broker eagerly hired him, and then Nagel later revealed that he was able to produce 20 vials of the serum, which Carly Morgenthau stole, and which I believe 8 of them took, if I'm not mistaken. So more bounty hunters close in on the lab. Carter storms in to alert them in. Zemo, not Nemo, suddenly shoots Nagel dead in this moment, which is like, whoa, not think that was going to happen. And then an RPG basically destroys the lab. So a firefight erupts at the shipyard. So any samples of the serum which might have been there were destroyed. Zemo slips on his trademark purple mask, I think mostly because like the actor Daniel Bruhl wanted to get closer to the comics, and they told him he could wear the mask. I think it's the reason why. They defeat multiple bounty hunters. He steals a getaway car from inside a shipping container. Barnes and Wilson hop into the stolen car with Zemo. Sharon's going to stay behind, gets to another car and says, quote, we've got a couple big problems. And we get the reverse of what we saw in Civil War, where Sam says, you're not going to move up your seat, are you? Bucky says, no.
Yeah. I will mention in the comics, Zemo's mask is because he is disfigured. He fell into like a vat of something and he's disfigured, so he has to wear the mask. I actually wonder if it helped them with filming as well, right? Like filming in the COVID era, maybe he could wear the mask and do more fight scenes easier or something. I wouldn't be surprised if that was at least a part of it.
It might be. The Flag Smashers don masks for, I understand it's part of the costume. It seems to be completely impractical. Like for me to fight with like the hard shelled mask on, it's just going to
Right.
reduce your vision. I mean, you're doing it also too because you bring in the stunt actors who are
Yeah.
doing all the scenes,
Right.
if you will, right?
Right.
But we then have a few cutscenes close out the episode. In Latvia, Morgenthau mourns her mother's death while remaining with the Flag Smashers. Dovich, who's played by Desmond Chime, about what their lives were like before the blip caused their displacement. In Berlin, Walker and Hoskins are at the prison only to find out that Zemo has escaped. I'm not going to call him Helmet. Let's be honest. They know that Barnes and Wilson were there, but they don't have proof they did anything. So their investigation is going to be off the books. We don't know what that means quite yet. On Baron's jet, Sam is upset that Nagel didn't refer to Isaiah Bradley by his name. Again, like another kind of microaggression there. They discuss the symbolism of the shield. Bucky's plan to retrieve it from Walker before Sam destroys it. They learn that Doña Madani died in Regia and looking forward to meeting with Morgenthau. Zemo redirects the plane and they make their way there. And then we see the Flag Smashers later raid a GRC facility for the materials, aiming to deliver it to the displaced children sitting in the camps. An explosion causes the facility to catch fire with people still inside. And in Regia, Sam and Zemo head into Zemo's apartment, but Barnes separates. I'm going to go for a little walk here. And he finds these real familiar metallic beads littered in the street, picks them up, and then he comes face to face with Dora Milaje member Ao, played by Florence Kasumba, who says in Wakandan, "I'm here for Zemo." So, and it's a reminder of the connection with the Wakandans because they killed King T'Chaka and blamed it on, and he killed King T'Chaka and blamed it on Bucky in Civil War.
Yeah, for sure. So moving on to episode 4, the whole world is watching. Ao and Bucky meet up, and actually we get a flashback in some, I would say, some of the best acting in the MCU right here in this scene with Bucky, where it's while he's in Wakanda, Ao's assigned to free him from his mental programming that Hydra had given him. After his treatment, Ao took to a remote location where she recited the activation words. And we see that it doesn't trigger the Winter Soldier, and Bucky cries as she says, "You're free." And I love this scene on rewatch. This was definitely a standout to me of just like, this felt like probably the first time they tried it. And you just feel that tension of like, oh God, if I do this wrong, if we were wrong, he's going to kill me. And it was great.
Yeah, it's a great scene. I completely forgot about it.
Yeah, same. In the present day, Ao berates Barnes for freeing Zemo from prison. After Barnes tells her that Zemo is just a means to an end, Ao gives him 8 hours before the Dora Milaje will move in to capture Zemo. Moving over to Baron's crib, we see that Barnes reunites with Sam Wilson and Zemo, where he informs them that the Wakandans are here for Zemo. He assures them that he wasn't followed.
I love this scene because he's like, "How do you know you weren't followed?" He's like, "Trust me, I know I'm followed." He's like, "Well," Zemo says, "It was sweet of you to defend me at least." And Sam's like, "Hey, you shut it. No one's defending you. You killed Nagel." And Zemo says, "Do we really have to litigate what may or may not have happened?" And Sam says, "There's nothing to litigate. You straight shot the man." It's really one of the charm of the characters, the humor, the kind of real relationships, the kind of like, buddy tension or buddy enemy tension, the kind of this kind of unique team up. It just really jumps out when you watch it. So good.
Yeah. Super, super, super good. And like the humor was necessary in that it helps punctuate it and it helps it like gives some air to the story a little bit. But it's never like so much that it distracts from the like deep meaning of the story at all. Bucky also briefs them on the fatalities from the Flag Smashers bombing of the GRC supply depot. Bucky says that Carly has a list of demands. Zemo asks if the two of them have the will to complete the mission, but an empathetic Sam says that she's just a kid. Zemo remarks that the heightened supremacist mindset embedded within Carly would make it useless to approach her passively, but Sam thinks that they can redeem her. This was really interesting, talking about how like the pursuit of super soldiers inherently is supremacist, which was really, really interesting to me. That whole conversation is probably a good topic for like almost a whole other episode. We could just talk about like what is seeking the super soldier serum. What does it drive you to do?
Right. Yeah. He talks about kind of the clouded judgment, and we see two people talk about later on whether they would take it or not. He talks about the very concept of a super. We will always trouble people. It's warped. The aspiration led to Nazis, to Ultron, to the Avengers. And Sam says, "You're talking about our friends." And Bucky says, "The Avengers, not the Nazis." But it's true. Like it just harkens, just like Zemo has this. When I'm watching this scene, I'm just reminded of Don Cheadle as Rhodey talking about going back and pantomimes killing little Thanos.
Yeah. And I will say, like, Zemo always is, like, even in the comics, he's a manipulator, right? And these scenes like this are just that proof, where he says he says the things that make sense, and then he includes a little thing, right? The Avenger, right? He tags the Avengers in with Nazis and everybody else. And so he's really good at that. That's what his sort of superpower is that kind of manipulation piece. Sam noted that Carly's adoptive mother, Doña Madani, was a well-known member of her community, and there may be a long service for her at the GRC camp. We then get a few like kind of quick cut scenes. The trio arrive at the GRC camp, looking for information about Doña Madani. Unbeknownst to Sam and Bucky, the refugees in the camp are Flag Smasher sympathizers, and they openly refuse their requests for information about Doña. Meanwhile, Zemo approaches a group of children and bribes them with Turkish delights. Thank you, Winter Queen. And learns the details of Madani's upcoming memorial later in the afternoon. I like this scene. There was like one of the Flag Smashers, the teacher guy, at one point kind of like tells Sam, like, I know who you are, I just can't trust you, which was really interesting.
Yeah. There was the scene in the marketplace. I also like kind of like how Zemo is super duper smart, and knowing like this is how I'm going to get information. I don't know that he necessarily knew that there were going to be a bunch of kids there, but how quickly he processed and like, here's how I'm going to build my trust in. Gives them candy. He's like, by the way, don't trust those two people. Later on when he meets them, the two people not to be trusted, and two more people are joining along to the memorial. But anyway, we'll put that aside.
Zemo refuses to disclose the location. He knows that this is now leverage, knowing that he's going to be turned on if he gives it up. Sam calls Sharon in Madripoor, who has access to satellites. Sharon says that the power broker went absolutely crazy after Nagel's death and wants the serum back. She tells him that they have to find Carly. At a graveyard, Carly and a fellow Flag Smasher, Nico, played by Noah Mills, retrieve hidden vials of super soldier serum before heading to Madani's memorial. Nico says he was a fan of Captain America, and he didn't think that there would be another one until he met Carly.
One thing when rewatching it, I did not make sense to me when Sam's talking to Sharon. So he's supposed to turn over Carly and the serums to the power broker. I don't understand. I just didn't make any sense to me. Like, why would you not destroy them, or why would you not keep the serum? Like, he doesn't, you know what I mean? I just didn't.
Yeah.
It seemed like a little bit of a plot hole, but
I think it was meant to be like a threat. Like I think she's supposed to be. She's saying to Sam, like, look, if you don't turn it over, the power broker is going to kill you or whatever, right? Like that's the implied context. So then we get over to the memorial, right? And Sam, Bucky, and Zemo run into John Walker and Lamar Hoskins on their way back to the apartment. Walker wants to take Morgenthau into immediate custody, but Sam pushes to see her alone, noting her vulnerability from losing a loved one. The rest remain behind, and Walker handcuffs Zemo to a furnace. Zemo's like, fair. Carly delivers a really touching eulogy to her adoptive mother. Carly meets with Sam after the memorial to talk. She declares her intentions to abolish the oppressive system to Sam. He notes that his sister Sarah had also suffered from their own set of injustices, and while he supports her cause, he cannot support her tactics. This very cool and chill approach may just work. Nope. The patient's clock expired on Walker, and he storms into the room and just ruins everything like he usually does, leading Carly to believe that Sam was trying to subdue her so that Walker could come in and take her. Meanwhile, Zemo frees himself from the handcuffs before confronting and shooting Carly. This causes her to drop the vials of serum, which Zemo promptly stomps and destroys, all except for one. As Morgenthau and Nico flee, Walker knocks out Zemo with the shield and recovers the only surviving vial. Carly is upset that the vials have been destroyed and that they will remain united as a team until the end. The power broker sends a text to Carly and threatens to kill her if she doesn't return the serum. Oopsie daisies about that.
Two things to note. One, do you think that Carly really regrets knowing that she only had 8 that she gave to the other 7 people? Could she have picked better people? Like she was just like, oh man, I just gave it to my friends. I didn't realize I was gonna have a limited supply. And then I also don't understand why the power broker doesn't use one of those satellites or 2 and just locate her via GPS. Like I don't and send a bounty to get her. But
no, that's fair. Yeah, it is a little interesting, right? The power broker, and this has a long history in the comics. It's not just the power broker. There's a lot of folks like this that like to operate in the shadows, and I think that sometimes that leads to some plot holes where it's like, why don't you just go do the thing? Like, why do you? No one would see you. Just go do it.
Yeah, you could see the exact location of John Walker as he's on the move, but you can't, anyway, but whatever. It is fine. It's a superhero show. It's fine.
And I'll say this is ramping up, and obviously at the end of this episode is where this comes to a head, but we do see that throughout this series from episode 1, John Walker is an offensive Captain America, right? And I don't mean offensive like I take offense, but he is wielding a pistol on his hip the entire time, right?
Mm-hmm.
A big, very noticeable pistol, which Steve never did, right? Steve would pick up guns in action or those sort of things where he needed to, but he never explicitly carried a weapon. And the shield is constantly used in an offensive manner, right? Like where he knocks out Zemo with it and some other things like that. It John Walker is very much he's very much the aggressor rather than the defender,
right?
Which Steve was.
Yep, I would agree with that. Yep.
Sam messages Sharon to keep tabs on John Walker. Zemo asks if Sam was offered the serum and whether Zemo asks Sam if he was offered the serum, would Sam take it? Zemo tells Sam that he cannot hold out hope for Carly and that her super soldiers cannot be allowed to exist. Sam arrives again, and
Bucky, I'm sorry that I read that.
Yeah, no worries.
Which Bucky is funny because he's like, super soldiers cannot live, and here in comes Bucky. I was like, ooh, yeah, awkward timing.
right? And Bucky gives Sam grief for giving Walker the shield. Just then, Walker and Hoskins arrive to apprehend Zemo, and the Dora Milaje are also here, because who isn't here at this point? Everybody's looking. Everybody is finding Zemo. Zemo is really popular. Walker says something condescending, and a big fight breaks out between Walker, Hoskins, and the Wakandans, and the Americans are getting absolutely destroyed. I loved it. Like, it's so funny because like Sam and Bucky even just kind of sit back and let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, yep, let it go.
Looking strong, John.
Right. Sam and Barnes eventually join in and break up the fight, but also struggle because the Dora Milaje are pretty BA. Meanwhile, Zemo slinks away into the bathroom and escapes via the sewer. At the end, John is left pinned to a table. Like the Dora have put a spear between his belt and the table. Barnes cannot fight because Ao removed his vibranium arm. And so the Wakandans leave to find Zemo. I love that. That fight's pretty good.
Yeah, it's great. I would say that there are a number of real. I mean, it's not going to be as iconic as like the elevator fight, but
Sure.
there are some great fight scenes. The choreography
Absolutely.
is fantastic. The actors who do it, I think in most instances, it's the actors do a great job.
For sure. So then, after a fight, we got to go recuperate our losses. So Walker and Lamar head to a cafe where they talk about the prospects, talk about the prospects, talk about super heroics that come from the serum's power. Walker is mortified at the prospect of being defeated by a non-super soldier. And, let's face it, he probably also doesn't love that it was a woman who beat him.
Yep.
Walker says that the things they had to do in Afghanistan to be awarded the 3 medals of honor that he has do not feel right, and that Cap is the first time he's done something that is actually right. Lamar asks him to imagine how many lives they could have saved if they had that serum. Meanwhile,
If only.
it's sitting in Walker's like cargo pants pocket, just like Napoleon Dynamite's tots,
So you're just pulling references from left field here and there. The thing I like this is now that you see the contrary, which is like, he asked Lamar, would he take it? He's like, oh, absolutely. Which again shows you the difference between Lamar and Sam, right?
Yeah. Do you think so? Do you think Lamar would have been a better new Cap than John Walker?
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
I think throughout this show, Lamar is like the level head that talks Walker down constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna get to a scene in a second where obviously that goes super sideways. But yeah, I spent a lot of this show thinking like, oh, if they had just, this show might have even gone differently if those roles had been reversed.
Yeah. I mean, it obviously would not have turned out the same way. And obviously you needed to have the
Yeah, you had
juxtaposition
to
of
have
like
it. Yeah.
the blonde haired white dude and Sam, but
Yeah. So then we get to probably the seminal moment from this show, the one everybody remembers. Carly calls Steve's sister, Sarah, and threatens her family if Sam doesn't arrive for another meeting alone. However, Barnes insists on going along with him. While attempting to reason with Carly, Sharon informs Sam and Bucky that John Walker is on the move, heading towards the Flag Smashers location. Cue up some sweet action scenes. While infiltrating the camp, Hoskins is abducted and tied up, leaving Walker alone. Sam and Bucky arrive and join the fight. Sam notices that Walker begins displaying superhuman force as he fights Dovich and asks, "What did you do?" Big action fight scene between a horde of Flag Smashers, Sam, Bucky, and Walker. Lamar frees himself from the restraints and rejoins his allies. Walker is being restrained by a Flag Smasher. As Carly is about to stab Walker, Lamar dives and tackles Carly. Carly then hits him in the chest and sends him flying into a pillar, which kills Lamar. The Flag Smashers flee, but Nico is hunted down by an enraged John Walker. Walker pins Nico up against some stairs by a fountain and murders him by repeatedly slamming the shield into Nico's chest. Very, very, very much framed almost exactly from Civil War, where where Steve held himself back from doing this to Tony.
Yep.
Looking up, Walker realizes that he is being recorded by horrified onlookers. The entire Earth is now bearing witness to his actions, and I will say this is some like great nonverbal acting here by Wyatt Russell, where he kind of like he's got his head kind of forward and his shoulders kind of hunched. He's just breathing really hard, and you just see the rage that has run through him just completely has taken, like he's just completely overtaken by rage.
Which we see carried to the next episode. Question for you. The big fight scene between the Flag Smashers, Bucky, Sam, and Walker. You have two super soldiers, and you've got dude who's basically has a vibranium, or maybe it's not vibranium at this point in time, but like the thing that struck me is like the Flag Smashers, they don't necessarily know how to fight. They're just strong. Like, you like? I guess that makes sense as to how the three of them, two of which are only two of which are serumed up, were able to like hold their own. In fact, kind of fend them off, because like obviously the three dudes know how to fight really well, right?
Yeah, because realistically, you have Bucky who's Hydra super soldiered plus a lot of training and a vibranium arm, which I would say that's good for a couple of Flag Smashers for sure. You have a very well trained John Walker, right? Like that's the whole part of his backstory is he's supposedly this guy who tested all super high on everything, and so
he's the guy that they wanted to give the serum to. The what's his name?
In
the first Avenger, Tommy Lee Jones wanted to give it to the. Yeah. That's basically the dude he wanted to give it to.
Yeah, and then now he's super soldiered up. Falcon, I guess, is just Falcon. He's got plot armor.
I can fly high, so they can't hit me.
Yeah, that's about it. Against 8 super soldiers, and or I guess it's less than 8 at this point, but it's interesting, and I think you hit it on the head, right? It's kind of like you look at baseball and there's the steroid era. You couldn't just sit at home and inject yourself with steroids and be Barry Bonds, right? You had to have the knowledge and the training to be able to do that. Same thing here, right? These guys are super strong and I think like have some street fight in them because they're refugees and they've had to learn some of that stuff, but they don't have the training or the additional tools that some of these other guys have.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think when you're fighting on top of the trucks, there's the element of surprise because you don't know that they're super soldiered up. You also don't have a lot of space, so it's easier for like to
stay in arm's reach. And
totally. So leads us to episode 5, Truth. So having just publicly executed Nico, we see John Walker running away into an abandoned facility, and with the death of Lamar Hoskins and Nico's murder still fresh in his mind, he's confronted by Sam and Bucky, who demand he give up the shield. And, Walker's like, you don't want to do this. And Bucky's like, yeah, we do. Which is like great. We wanted to kick your ass for like the last 4 episodes. So really cool action sequence. Walker refuses to give up the shield and fights them both. He like incapacitates Barnes for a minute before he takes on Sam, and Sam's able to like in kind of a Thanos moment, he's able to, and unlike Thanos, so but able to momentarily pry the shield away using like a cable. And then they tussle, and then Walker prevails, and he starts to choke Sam. He rips off the wings, and as he proclaims he's Captain America, he's going to kill Sam in the same way he killed Nico. And then Barnes jumps in, tackles him, pins him to the ground. Sam uses his remaining thruster to take Walker's shields away when he's like tugging at it, and it breaks his arm. And so in a final move, Bucky picks up Walker, runs towards Sam, and Sam is flying, thrusting towards him, and Walker just gets crunched into the shield. And they all fall down in like a classic wrestling move. They're all on the ground.
Yeah.
And Bucky picks up the shield and places it next to Sam on the ground and walks away.
Yeah. I kind of wonder if this was a little bit referential. Probably not. So John Walker is a wrestler in the comics. So to pay for the super soldier process that he got from the power broker, he actually joins like a pro wrestling league as Super Patriot. That's how he gets his costume and stuff. So I maybe a little bit of a reference there. If nothing else, it's fun to mention it here. I will also say, like, Bucky standing up holding the shield was a fun little. Oh yeah, Bucky can be Captain America sometimes.
Double vibrate. What would you rather have in a fight? Vibranium shield or vibranium arm?
Probably the arm.
Yeah,
well,
I think so.
Yeah, probably the arm. If I have the training that Bucky has, because we've seen that he's used it as a pretty effective shield, right? He can move it quick enough to block bullets and stuff.
Can't throw it though.
That's true. Unless he wants to like deprogram it and Oh man, I need to see that at some point. That it is machine washable though. We do know it is dishwasher safe.
That was terrible. We're gonna proceed here. So we cut over to in Riga. The GRC raids the camps and attempts to find Carly and the Flag Smashers, but they can only find the followers. So Sam reunites with Joaquin Torres, who tells Sam that government officials are taking over and investigating Walker's actions. Carly is also revealed to be laying low after Nico's murder. Sam thinks that she will be rebuilding her forces during this time. And as Sam leaves camp with his shield in tow, Torres is told to keep the damaged X-07 wings. And I think
next time, baby.
Next time. And I think this is the part where we would have gotten New Falcon. The start of it, if you will, had we more time. Cut to Washington, D.C., and Walker is summoned to a council of government officials where we hear the voiceover. John F. Walker, it is the order of the council that you are no longer to act in any capacity as a representative of the United States government or its military. You are hereby stripped of your title and authority as Captain America, effective immediately. He avoids court-martial, but is granted an honorable discharge from the military, and he's revoked all of his benefits.
Other than honorable, yeah.
Other than honorable. Thank you. When Walker's still like pushing it, he's like still like arguing, and basically the same senator was like who gave him the shield. It's like this, this is not a negotiation, and you could just see Walker's kind of like refusal to like accept it in a way, or just like, you don't understand. Basically you built me. I did what you wanted me to do. Right. So he walks out on the council, and as they're still talking to him, and they threaten him with U.S. disciplinary barracks outside, he is being consoled by his wife, who is trying to talk him off the ledge. She talks about maybe he should visit Lamar's family to, help them cope with the loss. And just then they are visited by a woman named Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, Julie Louis-Dreyfus. She is so great. She accepted it because she liked the idea of playing like this kind of female mastermind, but she has this kind of, her dialogue and way, it reminds me a little bit of Robert Downey Jr., where he's just like the conversation. It's like it's so quippy. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Right.
I can see that for sure. It's funny too, because like she quips about missing the Contessa part. And then that kind of comes back in Thunderbolts, where like she demands people call her Contessa, which was just funny in this show, where it's like, oh, she joked about leaving it out.
Yeah, she ingratiates herself. She reports her actions, including taking the super secret soldier serum. Super soldier serum, not super secret. I guess it's no longer a secret. Which she said was the smartest decision in his life. And then his number one smartest decision, she kind of looks and realizes that she's sitting between John and his wife, and he's like, oh, well, in addition to marrying this, firecracker next to me, is answering my phone call when I call. And she kind of whispers about the legal gray area about the ownership of the shield before she leaves a mysterious business card which has no contact information on it. Maybe there's a QR code, maybe there's a chip built in there, who knows? So while wandering the abandoned GRC camp, it's a real quick scene. Carly reminds her remaining flag smashers and plans to ramp up their mobilization. We cut back to Sokovia, and we find Zemo is visiting the memorial. Bucky, who's never visited the memorial, arrives holding a loaded, cocked firearm. Zemo reiterates his belief that Carly cannot be redeemed for her radicalization. I mean, this is like seeing, there's an expression of like, you have to say something 3 times before it sinks in. He notes that because her influence stretches across the globe, the only reasonable solution is to kill her. An argument could be made the opposite, which is that she'll also be a martyr if you kill her. But
yeah,
Barnes decides to disregard the advice. He aims the gun towards Zemo and pulls the trigger, only for him to reel it as unloaded. He drops the bullets from the other hand. The Dormelage arrive to detain Zemo for imprisonment on the raft. Zemo tells Bucky that he already took the liberty of scratching his name off the book and bids Bucky farewell. And it's kind of like a very kind of like real, I'm not going to say tender moment, but like there seemed to be like a little bit of a personal connection.
Respect.
Yeah. Ao advises Barnes to distance himself from Wakanda for the time being due to his role in Zemo's escape. And as she leaves, Barnes says, hey, I may have another favor to ask of you. What are you doing Thursday night? Because they had like real, like in person, real charisma. Like you could tell that they're close, like they've been to.
Right.
But anyway, so we see Sam returning to. By the way, I was also kind of concerned when he said, "Hey," when Barnes called her. I thought he was going to do like the Wakanda salute, and I was like, please don't, because that'd be kind of cringe.
Yeah.
So Sam returns to Baltimore to visit Isaiah Bradley and wants to know about his past. Sam has the Cap shield with him, but Isaiah tells him to leave it in there because, quote, them stars and stripes don't mean nothing good to me. And Bradley informs Wilson that along with him, a number of additional black soldiers were taken to be unknowingly injected with different versions of the serum. They were all sent out on missions, despite the serum being unstable, with the vast majority of the recipients. And while some began dying off, some became prisoners of war. And after hearing an officer's desire to destroy the POW camp to eradicate the evidence, Bradley infiltrated the camp alone and liberated his comrades. Bradley was eventually the sole survivor of the serum, so he was captured and experimented on for the next 30 years in prison. And during this time, letters written to Bradley from his wife, Faith, before her death were not allowed to reach him. It's just this, she died while I was in jail. They never let a single of her letters get to me. They locked him in a box. They told her I was dead. Yeah, and after a while, she was gone. So just horrible. Like this story is so tough. Bradley goes on to say that a nurse saved him by preparing false reports that he was dead, so he's able to escape. And Sam pleads with Isaiah to share his story with the world, but Bradley's adamant about keeping his name buried. Sam tells him things are different now. Bradley, this speech is just like, you watch it and you're just like, it's just, amazing. So Bradley says, man, that's why you're here? You think things are different? You think times are different? You think I wouldn't be dead in a day if you brought me out? You wouldn't believe jail was my fault because you got the white man's shield? They were worried my story might get out, so they erased me, my history. But they've been doing that for 500 years. Pledge allegiance to that, my brother. They will never let a black man be Captain America. And even if they did, no self-respecting black man would ever want to be. Wilson glances at the shield before leaving the house with it. He calls his sister, Sarah, to tell her he is coming home. An interesting what if that we could debate maybe on the Secret Show is, did Isaiah faking his own death cause the Starks to get murdered by the Winter Soldier? Because, right, like he couldn't experiment on him anymore. Then the Starks had it, right?
Yeah.
So Sam learns from his nephews that Sarah could not sell the family boat because it cost more than to fix than it's worth. So it's total. Sarah sends food off with the kids for some classmates who show up to school hungry. And so, Sam says Sarah's just like mom. And then it gets them thinking that mom and dad were always great and gave so much to the community, and try to bring in Delacroix to help bring them together to fix the boat. They turn out en masse to help them with the boat. Even Bucky shows up. He arrives with AO, with a case that AO delivered to him as a favor, and stays to help with the fix-up. And then we get various kind of montage scenes of Sam and Bucky working on the boat. One of the funny ones that I found is that at one point in time, Bucky's got like a paint scraper, and he's flipping around like it's a knife, like he would normally do. It's so funny.
So funny.
So the two brief each other about Carly. Sam says Tori's is working on a plan to defeat her, while Barnes mentions Zemo's beliefs about her. Sam also convinces Bucky to stay in Louisiana despite having flights the next day. Just don't flirt with his sister. And there's a very funny deleted scene, which we'll talk about, where like it's very flirtatious. It's very funny.
Yeah. So I will say, you being a fan of overbearing sponsorship, did you notice all of the labels out Heineken bottles in these scenes? It's like people are like holding them by the neck so that you could see the label, or just below the name. It's pretty pretty hilarious.
I'm guaranteeing you, if you're in Delacroix, Louisiana, you are not drinking a Heineken. I have a hard time believing that.
Yeah.
Right. But whatever. So Walker visits Hoskins' family, hoping they can find solace in the fact that he, quote, knows that he brought Lamar's killer to justice. His mom tells Walker that Lamar was proud of him and honored to be his partner. And to your point earlier, like, yeah, I think Lamar would have been a far better Captain America. Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe just split it, man. You take half, I take half.
Yeah, right? Half super soldiers.
Yeah, exactly. So John tells the family that he's sorry and always here for them. And while walking on the street, he sees like this promotional, Cap is back poster, which is, completely ironic. But it was, on rewatch, like, you see this kind of complex character. He's very, obviously knows his family. The family, loved Lamar. And so it's just like this weird, like this, the thing, and I think will be interesting to see him going forward, is like, he is not what you'd think of as like a Georgia jock football player. Like, he's from the South, but he's, his partner is black. He's married to an African-American woman. So it just, I thought that was like, you see this kind of good side, and you'll see it a little bit later on in the next episode.
I think the error that they made was by making him out to be like this master tactician, because I think if you play him up as a little bit more of just that like dumb, very loyal, but also like well-meaning kind of jock, it's a little bit cleaner. And by dumb, I don't mean like racist or anything like that. I think you can leave some of those elements in, because I think like that's the part of his introduction where he says like, I'm not Tony Stark or Dr. Banner, but they're listing that he passed all these intelligence scores and all this stuff. And it's like that, I don't know, that's not part of his comic character, right? He's not a master tactician. And ultimately, like, that's not part of his MCU character either. He's not like this overwhelmingly intelligent person. And so I do think, like, honestly, leaving that line out would have done a lot for his character, I feel like.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen more of John Walker personally. You only get 6 episodes, and so you have to like fit a lot in.
Right.
And so you just don't have as much time. But I really did like this scene, really kind of struck with me. And even though technically Carly is the one that killed, he knows that Carly's the one that killed Nico, or Carly, not Nico, is the one that killed Lamar. Lamar was kind of holding him back. So, but yeah, this is what inspires him later on to like seek revenge. So we're back at Delacroix. Oh, sorry. Sharon Carter. We have a real quick scene of Sharon Carter contacting Batroc, hoping to offer him a job. Batroc curses her over the phone in French for a while until she promises him double if he accepts the job. We see Sam's nephews playing with the shield as Bucky wakes up, and seeing with them play with it like made him smile. And this is you see him like, and so Bucky joins Sam for some more boat repair fun. They are repairing a water pump that was not broken when Sarah arrives and she relieves him. Time for a break. So this is where we get the montage scenes of Sam being to practice throwing the shield between the trees. They've got like what appear to be like football pads on the trees so that it doesn't get stuck in them.
Yeah.
Although it seems like it would go through the football pad, but we'll put that aside. Sam tells Bucky that it feels weird to pick up the shield again, and he talks about the complicated legacy of it. Barnes apologizes to him regarding his previous frustrations about his decision to retire it. And he tells him that like the shield was kind of the closest thing he had to a family. And so when he retired it, it felt like Bucky had nothing left, which I thought was really interesting way to see the shield, how much it meant to Steve, the symbolism, its association with Steve. You know, it's in a way it's a character in the movie, right?
Right.
Bucky says, when Steve told me what he was planning, I don't think we understood what it felt like for a black man to be handed the shield. How could we? I owe you an apology. I'm sorry. Right. A lot of that, we see a lot of that in the show comes across as kind of like earnest moment, this acknowledgement of race, him knowing the story about what happened to Isaiah Bradley. Like there's a lot here to process. Yeah. And so I can imagine what for some folks who are just like, come on, let's get on to the fighting thing. Like they just want to, I don't want to be bogged down with all the wokeness. Like, but it's like, it's really, really important for the story. That's why I really enjoyed it. So
yeah.
Sam urges Bucky to stop apologizing to the people he had affected as the Winter Soldier and to start building meaningful closures with them one by one. And before leaving, Barnes tells him to give a call once he has a lead on Carly. We cut to Sarah and Sam. She tells him that she just can't come and bring herself to sell the boat. And Sam is relieved and insists to Sarah that they can't afford to lose the fight, their boat. And with the belief that Bradley's pain and sacrifice would be for naught if no one continued to fight, Sam continues to train with the shield that once belonged to his friend. And you get this kind of very Rocky-like training montage. Yeah, I just cue up like, was it Eye of the Tiger? I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's in the background. And then so now the other thing which is really fun, when you see him doing these kind of like acrobatic jumps and spins. And there's one in particular where you see the person's face. Like it is nothing. It's nothing like him at all. So, so we cut to Latvia. It's 2 months later. Carly reveals to the rest of her flagmates, teammates, that she has hired Batroc. He gets his chance to enact payback on Wilson, while the Flag Smashers will gain the arm strength of his forces, the LAF. So, what struck me on rewatch is like, okay, it's 2 months later, and the Power Broker doesn't have the serum, and Carly's still alive. Like,
yeah,
that seemed like the Power Broker doesn't seem very powerful at that point in time. We cut to New York. The GRC is preparing to debate on the highly controversial Patch Act, which would force relocations of millions back to their home states. This doesn't resonate at all. There's a funny thing I forgot to say in the prior scene. Batroc says, I'm not here to, in French, he says, I'm not here to be part of your movement. And then English says, I'm only here to kill the Falcon. But in his thick French accent, it does not sound like he said Falcon. I don't know why you would kill the F word, but okay. The other thing is, if you watch the GRC, like I don't know when they refilmed it, but you could see the people in the audience are socially distanced. They're like 6 feet away. It's that really jumped out at me. I was like, oh yeah, they filmed this in like 2020. We were still
because the leaders are around like a big circular thing, and it's kind of shades of like how I learned to stop worrying and love the bomb, or something like that, Doctor Strangelove kind of stuff. But like, yeah, the audience is definitely, it's weird. It's the aides are just like in 6-foot bubbles.
Disney Plus does not allow you to do screen grabs, so I had to take a picture with my phone and post it because it was so stupid. Anyway, it was not stupid. It was wild. Yeah, I remember those times. Anyway, as they debate, the Flag Smashers rally their supporters all across Europe. A few supporters infiltrate the GRC building in New York City, enabling a mass hacking that disrupts the debate. Before the attack, Torres passes a lead to Wilson about the locations of the Flag Smasher incidents. Wilson opens the case, marveling at the sight of the gift from the Wakandans, and it is his new, well, we will see his new suit. And we get a mid-credit scene where we see Walker welding a personalized replica of his shield, and he decorates the inside with his military awards. So I guess only he will see them and note them. So
Yeah. Episode 6, the finale, One World, One People. We're at the GRC New York headquarters, and it's placed under lockdown due to the Flag Smasher assault. Sam flies into New York as Bucky Barnes approaches the building on the ground. They know that Carly and the Flag Smashers are nearby. A pedestrian interrupts Barnes and reveals herself to be Sharon Carter, who has arrived despite her fugitive status, covered in one of those sweet masks that's
yeah,
like a net kind of thing.
yeah. I plot hole here. I don't know how Sam got 1,200 miles and how she came from Indonesia in the matter of like hours. But we'll put that aside.
Seeing Sam's arrival, Carly signals her allies to begin rounding up the GRC senators, and the Green Goblin shows up. Just kidding. But their bombs do look very Green Goblin-esque. Sam, who has a new suit with the image of Captain America, as well as the shield, infiltrates the building to stop the evacuation. Which there was a funny little mention of the moon theory there when he's like breaking in. But also, I will say this suit is very comic accurate. Sam's Captain America suit, like this is pulled straight from the pages of the comics. What do you think of it, just as somebody maybe who's not as familiar with the comics?
I know it's comic accurate. There was always like even younger Falcon had like that kind of like the cowl that went up the side. Didn't have the glasses necessarily.
Oh yeah.
I didn't love the look of the cowl. I think they did a lot of CGI to keep it from like gapping when you turn his neck, because it doesn't like fully.
Oh, it doesn't like
fixed to his. Yeah, it doesn't do like fully like it's. So that I didn't love that. I know Anthony Mackie didn't like it because he said wearing that and the goggles got him all steamed up. And so that's why he doesn't have the cowl in Brave New World.
That makes sense.
So what did you think of it?
I thought it was cool. I do think the cowl is a little weird. Like I'm not a big Batman fan. Like his suit is not my favorite. Cowls are just like not my thing in superheroes, I guess. I'm now thinking about how many cowls there should be in this, because Flag Smasher also has a cowl in the comics.
I think it's just awkward I mean, it looks cool on a piece of paper, and you think it works, and then you're probably the wardrobe person. You're trying to make the cowl, and you're just like, this is never going to work. Like, can we just?
Well, and when you have to like make it out of rubber and all, it gets messy. So then we get a bunch of quick cut action scenes. Sam tells security that everyone should stay inside. He's attacked by Batroc the Leaper. The GRC senator hands Barnes the phone with Carly on the line. She boasts that the anti-resettlement movement is large enough to continue after her death. In the garage, GRC senators file into armored trucks, where Flag Smasher Lennox, played by Reyes Rivera, uses clamps to lock them inside. Barnes warns...
On Lennox, that was one of the names when you were reading. He was associated with John Walker. I wonder if it was the same Lennox. I think it is.
Yeah, it could be at least a referential name pull for sure.
Okay.
Barnes warns that Carly will have nightmares about about all this as she remembers the lives of the innocents that have been killed by her campaign. He urges her to abandon her campaign. She thanks him for the calls and hangs up. On the bright side, Bucky got an upgrade to his flip phone.
No, Papa got a new phone.
Barnes hijacks a motorcycle and uses it to pursue the transports, while Sharon kills Lennox using mercury vapor.
That just struck me as like, at some point in time, I was like, just somebody go, whoa, 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 mercury. Where the hell did you get your mercury vapor from? Like, does that that just struck me as she just kind of casually like,
I think at this point she's like, whatever. If they figure it out, they know who I am. Yeah.
yeah.
Wilson, Carly, and the remaining. Sorry, I missed one little scene here where more senators get on a helicopter piloted by Diego, another flag smasher. Wilson says au revoir to Batroc and abandons him to keep the fight on the to try and go catch the helicopter so it doesn't escape. We get a flight pursuit there. Carly and the remaining flag smashers rally and await the trucks, noting Diego is in the air as well. Carly basically says, worst case scenario, they kill all the hostages. Then, even though the original plan was to stop the vote, their plan gets out into the world, and in any event. She adds, it doesn't even matter if we die, the movement will go on. Everyone else is like, I don't want to die.
One world. One power.
Wilson uses Red Wing to find that Ayala Perez, a GRC member, has flight experience. Sam is momentarily distracted when he has to go rescue rescue the two pilots whose helicopter was disabled by Diego. Flag smashers place blockades to stop the transports, but Barnes arrives to stop them from hijacking. To cause a diversion, one truck is set on fire, forcing Bucky to rescue the senators. John Walker, remember him, arrives with his sweet homemade shield and fights the flag smashers, intending to kill Carly. Walker is getting worked, but Bucky joins the fray after freeing the senators.
How does his arm heal? Do you think maybe because of the serum it heals quickly? It's been 2 months.
Yeah, I think we've seen accelerated healing from the super soldiers.
Okay.
So I would give him that.
I'll buy it.
Wilson establishes contact with Senator Perez, coordinating the attack. He pushes Diego out of the aircraft and into the Hudson while Perez takes over controls and saves the helicopter. Pretty sweet scene there, actually. Walker fights Carly and gets away. Or Carly gets away and attempts to drive the remaining transport into the Hudson. Walker attempts to pull the vehicle back, ignoring his opportunity to kill Carly and discarding his shield, but is jumped by flag smashers. Hey, he's turning around. Wilson arrives in time to bring the truck back onto the street and free the senators, as Bucky, Walker, and Carly watch, as well as cheering civilians.
Sam gets a lot of big wins. A lot of visual big wins. Like they are pumping him up as Captain America, right?
As he regroups with Barnes and Walker, Batroc fires smoke bombs to cover the flag smashers' escape underground, but Wilson uses heat vision to get them. Sharon lures Carly to confront her. They are both disappointed in each other. Sharon wanted to control Carly. Carly wanted change. Sharon offers her a chance to work with her again. Batroc arrives and overhears that Sharon is the power broker. Carly realizes that he was hired as a means for her to be spied on, and Batroc attempts to blackmail Sharon with her identity for increased pay, which obviously fails.
That negotiation did not go well.
yeah.
Try that at work, people.
Sam arrives in a final attempt to negotiate with Carly and refuses to fight her, even though she furiously attempts to fight him. As she raises a firearm at Sam, Sharon fatally shoots Carly, who dies in Sam's arms. Carly whispers, "I'm sorry," as she passes away.
Also, Sharon is the power broker.
Outside, Walker and Barnes lure Dovich, Dee Dee, and Gigi into the hands of authorities. Thanks again for the free phone.
They use the app. Yeah, that's a great app.
Oh yeah. They use the like Pokemon Go app to find him. Yeah. Sam brings Carly's corpse to the medical team outside and chastises the GRC senators regarding their plan to forcefully relocate millions, along with their labeling of her and her supporters as terrorists. He urges them to reconsider their worldview their view of the world's displaced, asking them to to notice how it felt to be helpless in this situation.
Yeah, like you were helpless and going to die. Like how did that make you feel? And think about that when you think about the displaced. Like who's in the
Yeah.
room, who's helping with the decisions, right?
Sam then delivers an impassioned speech that touches on race, power, and challenges the GRC senators to step up. He warns them that the next Carly Morgenthau will rise should they fail to represent the people they are dealing with. Among those viewing Wilson on WHIH World News, which has been the news organization for the whole MCU, are Joaquin Torres, Sarah Wilson, Isaiah and Eli Bradley. Everybody's kind of watching this happen. I will say this scene was a lot less preachy than I remember thinking it was first time around.
Mm,
This felt a lot more just like, Sam giving the moral of the story kind of.
right. Yeah.
Sam walks away and gives a head nod to John Walker, who returns the gesture. Bucky says, "Sorry, I was texting, and so all I heard was black guy in Stars and Stripes." Sharon apologizes to Sam for killing Carly, while Sam reiterates his promise to get her pardoned. Sam retrieves one flag smasher from the Hudson, who is apprehended along with his other flag smasher comrades. However, before they can be taken to the raft, they are killed when their transport explodes. Turns out Zemo's butler, Oznek, who is watching from a distance, secretly planted the explosive.
Womp womp.
And then we get like kind of an epilogue situation. So we're over at the raft. Imprisoned Zemo delights in the news of the Flag Smashers' deaths. He also hears that the GRC formally announces that they are going to stop the forced resettlement. Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine recognizes the scheme as Zemo's doing. She's glad someone else did it. It saves her a ton of paperwork.
That was so funny.
John
You got to
Walker
reject, you got to shred.
John Walker appears with his modified suit, without the Captain America branding, black with the red stripes, straight out of the comic books. He has now been recruited by Fontaine as the U.S. agent. Back in New York, Bucky visits Yori late night and reveals the truth behind his son's death in this so brutal. Bucky says, I have to tell you something about your son. He was murdered. Yori, what? Bucky, by the Winter Soldier. And that was me. Yori, why? Bucky, I didn't have a choice. Bucky leaves Dr. Christina Rayner his completed list and a thank you note and stops by to visit Leah the next day at the restaurant, but can't go in because Yori's there.
Did you think it was odd that he gave her the book? I was like, that was Steve's book.
Steve's book, yeah. Building up the lore around it being Steve's book does make it a little odd, I will say. Yeah.
Anyway.
Wilson visits the Bradley family in Baltimore. Isaiah noted that Sam did not noted what Sam did to get the GRC to change their plans and tells Sam he's special. Isaiah, I mean, you ain't no Malcolm, Martin, Mandela, but Sam, no argument there. But I know what I've got to do. So, Black Captain America, huh? Damn right. the fight you taking on ain't gonna be easy, Sam. Yeah, I might fail. Shit, I might die. But we built this country, bled for it. I'm not gonna let anybody tell me tell me I can't fight for it. Not after what everybody before me went through, including you. Shit, I almost bought that. Sam, or man, don't you ever lighten up? Isaiah says, nope. Mm.
I almost bought that.
Sam then takes the Bradleys to Washington, D.C. There he reveals the exhibit that he helped set up in the Smithsonian to immortalize Isaiah's Bradley story. Sam says, now they will never forget what you did for this country, which brings Isaiah to tears.
I cried when watching this scene.
Dude. Yeah, same. Wilson and Barnes return to Delacroix, where Sarah and the locals hold a celebratory cookout. Watching the sunset on the horizon, the two brothers in arms carry on, and we see the updated title card, Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Bucky got invited to the cookout.
There is a mid-credit scene, but we'll talk about that in our traditional spot.
Yeah. The one thing on rewatch, when you see Bucky arrive, you can tell he's dropped a cake because like it's a cookies, like a Oreo cookie cake, and all the cookies are on the side. It's so funny. You can't unsee it when I watch it now.
That's hilarious. Well, David, we talked about a lot of why this show was significant throughout the episode. Beyond, is there any bows that you want to put on that, or anything else you want to say on why this show was significant?
I mean, it obvious things like established new Captain America. Tackled difficult discussions about race. Certainly was not lost upon people watching it. Like you said, the time when it came out, the kind of the strife we're going through. And I would say that, like, personally, I enjoyed the series quite a bit. There were those are very real people that I knew growing up. Baltimore is, like I said, it's like little Oakland. So I really enjoyed it. And I think on rewatch, I liked it more than I thought. When I originally saw it, because I think we just, it's pandemic, it's only 6 episodes, and it's kind of clunky or whatever, and it was good. How about you?
Yeah. I think we've said it throughout, right? I think like it definitely moves the plot forward, which is something that WandaVision did a little bit of, but like WandaVision was such a corner of the MCU, right? It was like Wanda and Vision, and that's about it, right? Nobody else really was impacted by WandaVision. Whereas like this is on the global stage. This is Sam taking the Captain America shield. This is pushing the plot of the MCU forward in a lot of ways, which was really cool. This was the first TV show to do that in that kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked that. And I think that that's really important. And then like you say, the social significance of it can't be understated. And I think it was really impressive.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's different than Brave New World, right? Doing TV shows are different than doing a movie. It's like Spellman talks about, like when first working with like the MCU people, I think the MCU just thought like, hey, you just take a movie and divide it up into 6. And he's like, no, you don't understand. Each episode has to have an arc. Each episode has to have like it's kind of its own thing. And so, it would have been interesting to see if you had a different director or if you had more episodes. Certainly, you have to cut it some slack because it was done during the middle of the pandemic, and they had to make some choices with things they didn't necessarily want to do. But yeah. So for you, as far as what was your favorite episode of the 6?
I would say for me, it was episode 3. That was a lot of time spent in Madripoor. I really enjoyed that. I enjoy the like shipyard fight. That shipyard fight is pretty well done, and kind of the intrigue of Sharon Carter, especially now knowing she's a power broker and then going back to it, is really cool. So I like that one. It's kind of an shiny kind of pick, right? It's not necessarily the deepest episode, but I would say that was probably the one that I kind of keyed into and I enjoyed the most. How about you?
That's a good one. I mean, 3 is probably objectively the best one. I think the 5 and 6, I don't know when they kind of shot them and thing. they seem a little bit off. I do enjoy the the episode where they visit Baltimore for the first time, just to kind of see that.
Yeah, episode 2, I think.
Episode 2. So I'll say episode 2.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, David. So, who's your MVP? Most valuable player from this episode or from this show?
All right, so it goes without saying that like Sam has to be someone's choice for MVP, right? Like it would be stupid not to. Like we don't have a situation where like no one's picked, Black Panther in the Black Panther movie. Although I think we reassigned him to you.
Yeah.
Do you have someone that you really strongly feel about that is not Sam Wilson?
Not necessarily. I can go ahead and take Sam because I do think like yes, he's the titular character. He also like he is a vehicle for so much exploration of the MCU, whether it's like the effects of blipping.
Mm-hmm.
I think like he's a superhero who doesn't just punch his way out of things, right? Like in all the um I think about the like Thunderbolts commercials, right? That run right now, and Yelena in them says, "Oh, so we all just kick and punch," and I think that's one of the critiques of the MCU is there's a lot of like focus on that method of solving things, and Sam just isn't that guy, right? He is a social worker through and through from the point where he's introduced to now where like he truly believes in like the good in people and works on it, and that was a theme throughout this, and I love that. I think that that's really interesting. You can explore that really in a really cool way in TV that you can't necessarily always explore in movies, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
with a movie you got to have some action in there and you only have so long. So I really liked, I think that was one of my favorite scenes was like where he's talking to Carly and you see him turn her, right? He's so close. Had John Walker not been there, he may have actually like won Carly over in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I would say definitely Sam for sure.
Okay.
Who you got?
That's a good choice. I'm probably Donya Madani. She really seemed dead the whole time. No, I'm kidding. I think obvious choice would be Bucky, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to argue the two of those. If we were to, his character was very complex. He's funny. He is action packed. He is like passionate about the shield. He is, helps to he grows and understands more about the complexities of the shield. He goes through therapy. He kicks ass. He's great. If I were to choose someone who was not one of those two,
yeah, that's what I was just gonna ask. Who not off the title would you pick?
Zemo.
That's fair.
Zemo's great.
Good pick. Good.
He's so
pick.
funny in the.
He's funny, but like cunning too.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, it's type 2 him and Isaiah Bradley. Isaiah's not in it as much, but his scenes just carry a gravity, and you can feel this person's like pain and anger, like, and just how he was taken advantage of, and just man, they're both really good.
Yeah, I will say a quick past show correction that I was listening to our Captain America First Avenger super secret spoiler show earlier this week because I released it on our main feed. And I was talking about how John Walker was a government project super soldier. I forgot entirely that John Walker had been like kind of he took the super soldier serum on the side. Like it wasn't under government watch or anything like that. So,
right.
I will also say a word for John Walker as MVP in a lot of the same ways where like when you watch Game of Thrones, no matter how much you hate Joffrey, you have to admit that actor was great, right? And I think the same thing is true here. Hate John Walker. He was a complete douchebag. But Wyatt Russell did a phenomenal job of making us hate him.
Yeah, no, I would think that's right. I mean, Joffrey's on the Mount Rushmore for sure, but no, John Walker, he does a really good, and he is sympathetic by the end, and you
Yeah.
see him like saving the truck with the senators on it, and there's a point in time where he's fighting Carly, like, oh man, I hope they both lose. This is gonna be great.
Right. All right, David. So rankings. So we introduced this last episode. So we always do middle third, top third, bottom third. And we want rankings within TV, so comparing all of TV against TV, and then a ranking within the multiverse. So within the multiverse
Wait,
saga.
did
So
we do multiverse last time, or did we just do the? I thought we were
we
going to
did
say
both.
we did both. Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to say, as far as the TV shows, probably middle third, and I would say as far as the rest, middle third. I think comfortably middle third.
Yeah.
It might be even a high, depending on, because there's some stinkers in the movies.
Yeah, I agree. I think mid. And I think it's like it's true mid, right? And I don't mean that in the derogatory way that a lot of like kids are saying mid these days, but I mean it is truly like the multiverse saga. I will be an ardent defender of the multiverse saga. I still love a lot of the movies and TV shows here. Um, I think there is some definite bottom fodder though in the multiverse and in the TV shows. But I think this is not in the bottom by any means. The just keeping it out of the top is something's got to be in the middle, right? And I think that's something that's got to be in the middle.
Yeah, I think some people put it in the bottom, and I think that that's a little unfair. I don't think it's, I don't think it's bad as some of the other TV shows. I'm looking at you, Secret Invasion. But
Our
we
first
just
5-minute episode, it sucks. Done.
It's not great. It's not great. It's not great. But anyway, so yeah, mid. I think that's right. Middle third.
Cool. All right, David. Well, that does it for our episode on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Everybody out there listening, please remember to check out Puny Pod on your... Oh my goodness, mushmouth here. Check out Puny Pod on your social media of choice. We are on Blue Sky. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on everything. Also, check out the Ears Up Discord. There's a lot of Marvel stuff coming out, so trying to jump in there and discuss, all the new Marvel stuff. We've got Ironheart just about out, so we'll be discussing that there. We talked about Thunderbolts. We talked about Captain America Brave New World, so that's a great place to kind of interact with us. Check us out there. Other than that, thank you all for listening. Puny Pod will return with Loki Season 1.
Of course, it wouldn't be Marvel without a mid-credit scene or a post-credit scene. We do get one here. We had one last one as well. In a mid-credit scene, Sharon Carter receives an official pardon from the U.S. government. Thanks again, Sam. And she regains her former CIA position. She's now Agent Carter. As she leaves the Capitol, Sharon Carter calls one of her contacts at Madripoor and tells them that she now has direct access to secret government resources. Oops. Sharon says, start lining up your buyers. Super soldiers might be off the menu, but we're about to have full access to government secrets, prototype weapons, you name it. Should be something for everyone.
So she knows where the document bathroom is then.
And I'm guessing that she's not quitting her old job. She might be updating her LinkedIn, but she is keeping that one on her hidden resume. So
yeah, so this hasn't paid off yet. I mean, I say yet because I think it will. right? I think probably Avengers or something. We'll see it come back around.
Oh, almost certainly. Almost certainly. Yeah. Emily Van Camp, I think, is the actress who plays Sharon Carter. She's great in it. I forgot how good she is. And she could have actually, if you're looking like not the MVP, but best supporting MVP, she was really good.
Yeah.
And she was busy the whole movie, man. She's getting texts at the same time from Sam and Carly. I was almost made a joke. Is like, oh man, what happens if you respond to the wrong text thread to the wrong
Right?
person? Like,
wrong person gets threatened.
yeah, wrong person gets threatened. I'm hiring Batroc to kill Sam. Like, wait, what?
All right, y'all. Well, we will come back and just a reminder. Just I think I made it clear in the main episode, but I want to make sure I say it again here. We are only reviewing season 1 of Loki. So we're doing it one season at a time with the releases. So for those multi-season shows like Loki and What If, those will be dropping one season at a time. So if you're watching along with us, just watch that first one. We'll see you then. Bye, everybody.